Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I ran out of time there. I forgot what time it was. Well, welcome. We have so much, needless to say, to cover this morning. As we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio, I have not even checked the email yet this morning. So hopefully everybody's tuning in and watching as we talk about the attempted assassination of former President Donald J. Trump. There we go. I'm checking email now. We got some waves coming in. Here's one. I'm 100% voting for Trump. If he's willing to take a bullet for this country, he is truly giving us his all. That's from a viewer earlier this morning or over the weekend. Thank you, by the way, for all the comments throughout the weekend. Yes, it was a shocking day. Not expected out of Butler, Pennsylvania. I'm going to ask this question. Did anybody attend the rally that watches this program? Butler, not that far away. I think, about 3-4 hours. Biden did address the nation last night, saying yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back, take stock of where we are. Now we go forward from here. Thankfully, former Trump is not seriously injured. I spoke with him last night. I'm grateful he's doing well. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victim who was killed. Corey was a husband, father, volunteer firefighter, a hero, sheltering his family from bullets. We should all hold his family and all those injured in our prayers. It was interesting because when I saw the first address by the president, he said they'd go in more depth at the Oval Office, but it was only about 7 minutes last night. Continuing, though, with what Biden had to say, we don't know his opinions or affiliations, meaning the shooter. We don't know whether he had help or support or if he communicated with anyone else. Tonight, I want to speak to what we do know. A former president was shot, an American citizen killed, while simply exercising his freedom to support the candidate of his choosing. We must not go down this road in America. Now, some have pointed to some of the gaffes and verbal mistakes the president made in that Oval Office address. He at one point said, in America, we resolve our differences at the battle box. Now that's how we do it, at the battle box, not with bullets. The power to change America should always rest in the hands of the people, not in the hands of a would-be assassin. You know the path forward through competing visions of the campaign should always be resolved peacefully, not through acts of violence. We are blessed to live in the greatest country on earth, and I believe that with every soul, every power of my being. Tonight, I'm asking every American to recommit to make America, well, think about it. What's made America so special? He almost was going to say, it seemed like he was going to say, make America great again, but realized what he was about to say. So maybe changed it mid-sentence. Here in America, while unity is the most elusive of goals right now, nothing is more important for us now than standing together. He also, at one point, as I mentioned earlier, referred to Trump as former Trump. Now, Melania released a letter. I believe this was yesterday. She said, I'm thinking of you now, my fellow Americans. We have always been a unique union. America, the fabric of our gentle nation, is tattered, but our courage and common sense must ascend and bring us back together as one. When I watched the violent bullet strike my husband Donald, I realized my life and Barron's life were on the brink of a devastating change. I'm grateful to the brave Secret Service agents and law enforcement officials who risked their own lives to protect my husband. To the families of the innocent victims who are now suffering from this heinous act, I humbly offer my sincerest sympathy. Your need to summon your inner strength for such a terrible reason saddens me. A monster who recognized my husband as an inhuman political machine attempted to wring out Donald's passion, his laughter, ingenuity, love of music, and inspiration. The core facets of my husband's life, his human side, were buried below the political machine. Donald, the generous and caring man who I've been with through the best of times and the worst of times. Let us not forget that differing opinions, policy, and political games are inferior to love. Our personal, structural, and life commitment until death is at serious risk. Political concepts are simple when compared to us human beings. We are all humans, and fundamentally, instinctively, we want to help one another. American politics are only one vehicle that can uplift our communities. Love, compassion, kindness, and empathy are necessities. And let us remember that when the time comes to look beyond the left and the right, beyond the red and the blue, we all come from families with a passion to fight for a better life together while we are here in this earthly realm. Dawn is here again. Let us reunite now. This morning, ascend above the hate, the vitriol, and the simple-minded ideas that ignite violence. We all want a world where respect is paramount, family is first, and love transcends. We can realize this world again. Each of us must demand to get it back. We must insist that respect fills the cornerstones of our relationships again. I'm thinking of you, my fellow Americans. The winds of change have arrived. For those of you who cry in support, I thank you. And I commend those who have reached out beyond the political divide. Thank you for remembering that every single politician is a man or a woman with a loving family. So that's Melania Trump. We're learning a little bit more about the shooter. I don't really like to get into those details. There's a few things that are probably important to know. There's a lot of red flags being raised, or a lot of questions being asked about the Secret Service. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But the rooftop where the gunman shot at Trump was identified as a security vulnerability before the rally. Audio forensics suggests that at least there are as many, I should say, as 3 weapons were fired at the Trump rally. Now, it's important to note the FBI said Sunday that the shooter did act alone. The first 3 shots were consistent with alleged weapon A. The next 5 were consistent with alleged weapon B, and the final acoustic impulse was emitted by a possible weapon C, according to the National Center for Media Forensics at the University of Colorado. And we also learned that the suspected shooter, the alleged shooter, you know how you have to legally say that, had explosive devices in his car. The 20-year-old had been identified as the shooter who killed 1 person, quickly injured 2 others, and shot the former president while he was on stage. He used a gun bought by his father to carry out the shooting, and law enforcement is trying to work out the motive behind the attack. So that's a little bit of the, I guess, kind of the who, what, when, where, and why. We're going to take a look at what is being said, like I said, about the Secret Service. Also, some opinion pieces. What were your initial thoughts when this happened? Man, what you're talking within, literally, the term within an inch of his life. Now, the attempted assassination of Donald Trump is being investigated as a potential domestic terrorism occurrence. The shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks, this coming from the Daily Mail, was rejected from his high school rifle team for being a terrible shot. The would-be assassin was considered dangerous and made concerning jokes about guns. And like I said, I don't want to talk about him. What about the hero at the Trump rally who shielded his family, and while shielding his family lost his life? Corey, I'm going to try this here, Comparator, died shielding his family and would have done it again, friend said. It's just so typical of him, the way it all happened, with protecting his wife and his daughter and just throwing himself on top of them when they hear the shooting. He was all-around good guy that was always there to lend a hand and support, not just for his own children, but all the other kids who were friends of their girls and on their team. He had a just give it all your all attitude. A lot of kids respected him for that. Just always being there, supporting, giving those pep talks to get them going. It's going to be a big loss. We didn't think it was true at first when my daughters called me crying. Then we saw his wife and daughter on the news when they were tending to him. It was just a sad thing to see. So sad. But I know he would have done it again in a heartbeat. If it came down to it, he would have done again in a heartbeat if it came down to it. So that's a little bit of the updates. Michael Goodwin talked with Donald Trump, calling him a grateful and at times defiant Donald Trump. He told the Post he's supposed to be dead, as he recalled the harrowing moment a would-be assassin shot him at a Pennsylvania campaign rally. The former president shared the very surreal experience that nearly ended his life. Quote, the doctor at the hospital said he never saw anything like it. He called it a miracle. I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be dead. He said that he would be, meaning Dad, if he had not turned his head slightly to the right to read a chart on illegal immigrants. At that instant, what would have been a kill shot tore off a small piece of his ear and splattered blood on his forehead and cheek. Trump said that Secret Service agents led him off stage. He still wanted to continue speaking to his supporters, but the agents told him it wasn't safe and they had to get him to the hospital. He marveled at how the agents came flying in like they were linebackers as soon as the shooting started. Yeah, that's how I understand how he lost his shoes. You may have saw that part when they were getting him up off the ground, saying, "I want to get my shoes." On the video of the shooting aftermath, he said, "Wait, I want to get my shoes." As he explained in the interview, the agents hit me so hard that my shoes fell off, and my shoes were on tight. This is an interview, an exclusive interview with the New York Post with former President Donald J. Trump. They took him out with one shot right between the eyes, the former president said. They did a fantastic job. It's surreal for all of us. Trump also addressed the incredible photo of him raising his fist. Is there, everybody talked about the historic nature. Oh, got a lot of waves coming in. Historic nature of the mugshot of the former president. Have you ever seen perhaps a more historic shot as it happened live? That pumping of his fist, I mean, in terms of presidential politics. What a powerful, moving photo. A lot of people say it's the most iconic photo they've ever seen, Trump said. They're right, and I didn't die. Usually you have to die to have an iconic picture. Typical Trump. I just wanted to keep speaking, but I just got shot. By luck or by God, many people saying it's by God, I'm still here. One man at the rally was shot and killed, as you know, and 2 were wounded. Asked if he had given any thought to attending the funeral of Corey Comparator, the firefighter who died shielding his family, Trump said yes. Get the numbers. I want to go to the hospital and call all the families, he told his aides. A lot of places, especially soccer games, you hear a single shot, everybody runs. Here there were many shots and they stayed. I love them. They're such great people, meaning that, there wasn't a stampede, essentially, and the safety issues that recalls as well. So we're starting off the program, if you're just joining us, more with what we're learning, but we are going to move along to, and it's so heartbreaking that it comes to this, how politicized we are. You saw the media's coverage of this, undoubtedly, and the kind of disdain or the biased nature in which they presented this assassination attempt. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about what some of the pundits have had to say, what some people had to say that they shouldn't have. There's been a lot of people losing their job this weekend, and what they had to say about the president's attempted assassination. Now, Trump credits that chart, that illegal immigration chart, for saving his life, saying he came a quarter of an inch from dying. Yeah, the photos aren't they just shocking? Trump said he looked at the chart early and was then shot in the ear instead of the head. Representative Ronnie Jackson, who was Trump's White House physician, said, he goes, "The Border Patrol saved my life. I was going over the Border Patrol chart. If I hadn't pointed that chart and turned my head to look at it, that bullet would have hit me right in the head." The 45th president described the events happening so quickly and then dropping down and being protected by the Secret Service, adding to Brett Baer that Trump is amazed that it happened. He understands that he's blessed to be here today. Yes, I'm calling him the luckiest man on earth. We're going to talk much, much more about this, as I don't think should come as any kind of surprise or shock to anybody. I'm glad that you joined us. I could tell already we're going to be running late this morning, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Want to know why it's hard to stop a train? It's how we've invented products that reinvented our world. It's how we test as hard as the elements do. It's how we run.
Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning in Corning, New York is a local, veteran-owned and operated company with over 25 years' experience. From service and repair to new installations, trust the experts at Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning.
Race car drivers change lanes very fast, but with no outside mirrors. How come they don't crash? Introducing Angel View, the new wide-angle mirror that reduces blind spots. Angel View simply snaps over your car's rear view mirror, giving you a 160-degree view behind you. Just look at the difference. Look, ordinary rear view mirrors are small and flat, but Angel View has a huge mirror with curved glass. This convex shape allows you to see both blind spots with one glance. And with our Pro Edition special coating, it's anti-glare at night. Get your Angel View now for just $19.99. But wait, Angel View may be discontinued. Due to rising costs, Angel View is stopping manufacturing effective immediately. Once the current inventory is gone, it's gone forever. Order now.
Call 1-800-897-0371 or visit getangelview.com. Order now.
Broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. You're watching Frankly Speaking. Thanks so much for joining us on this Monday morning. We're receiving a lot of waves. I really appreciate that. I heard a really interesting point about this because I'm sure you saw conspiracy theories, kind of the vitriol on social media if you are a social media person. This is the first assassination attempt in the social media era. So you can imagine what that brought and what types of things were being said. We're going to get to those in just a little bit. Now, Trump did, how do you say it, Truth? It's Truth Social, but I don't know, you don't tweet on Truth Social. I'm not sure exactly what you call it, but he posted, how's that? Unite America. Trump is changing his GOP convention speech to stress the importance of unity after the rally shooting. Yes, this is the RNC week. This is a very big week for the Trump campaign. We'll find out at some point who his vice presidential pick will be. If we have an opportunity later on in the program, we will try to get to some of the things to look out for as the RNC kicks off, the Republican National Convention kicks off today. The 45th president told the New York Post that he threw away an extremely tough speech to make way for the new approach following Saturday's shooting at that rally. He will deliver the speech Thursday when he formally accepts the Republican Party's nomination for president at the convention. I want to try to unite our country, he said, but I don't know if that's possible. People are very divided. I had all prepared an extremely tough speech, really good, all about the corrupt, horrible administration, but I just threw it away. Now, Biden, his campaign will restart activity. Following the president's TV interview on Monday, President Biden's campaign will resume early this week following a brief pause after a gunman tried to assassinate Donald J. Trump. The president's re-election team will kick back into gear after Biden sits down for a highly anticipated Monday night television interview with NBC News' Lester Holt. It's unclear if the campaign will immediately start running television ads again. I wonder what time that broadcast tonight. I forgot that he had a speech or an interview with Lester Holt tonight. Now, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, as well as Hakeem Jeffries, condemned the Trump rally shooting. Nancy Pelosi posted a statement to social media condemning the shooting, referencing the fact her husband survived a violent attack by a right-wing conspiracy theorist in their San Francisco home back in 2022. As one whose family has been the victim of political violence, I know firsthand that political violence of any kind has no place in our society. I thank God that former President Trump is safe as we learn more details about the horrifying incident. Let us pray that all those in attendance at the former president's rally today are unharmed. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries also posted to social media. Excuse me. I am horrified by what happened at the Trump rally in Pennsylvania and relieved that former President Trump is safe. Political violence has no place in our country, Schumer said. Jeffrey said, I'm thankful for the decisive law enforcement response. America is a democracy. Political violence of any kind is never acceptable. I pose this question to you because I don't have an answer, but I asked some people over the weekend, how would you rate this? Rating may not be the right word to use, but to January 6th. How does this compare to January 6th? Obviously, we hear about January 6th a lot and that quote-unquote threat against democracy. What is this threat in relationship to January 6th? I'm just curious. Now, Governor Kathy Hochul, our governor, said any violence against a fellow American is disgusting and unacceptable. We must express political disagreements peacefully, civilly, and respectfully. I'm praying for the safety and health of former President Trump and all who are attending his event in Pennsylvania. Again, I'm not going to go into the details of the shooter. You can find that for yourself. There's quite a lengthy piece at the New York Post. But there is obviously a lot of pushback right now against the Secret Service, and specifically the director of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle is expected to take a proactive role in addressing security issues in the wake of the attempted assassination of former President Trump. Already, House lawmakers plan to introduce a bill bolstering Secret Service protections for Biden, Trump, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Do you realize that he still does not, RFK Jr. does not have Secret Service protection? Now, Biden appointed Cheadle to lead the Secret Service back in 2022, making her the second woman ever to lead the agency. As director, she oversees the agency's execution of protection missions and investigations. Prior to her appointment, you may be aware of this by now, Cheadle served as the senior director in global security at PepsiCo, where she oversaw security protocols across the company's Northern American facilities. Now, Biden said back in 2022 that she has, quote, my complete trust. Representative Mike Waltz claimed Saturday that Secretary of Homeland Security Mayorkas had denied repeated requests to increase Trump's Secret Service protection. The Secret Service firmly denies that allegation. That is absolutely false. In fact, we added protective resources and technology and capabilities as part of the increased campaign travel tempo. The Secret Service director should be put on leave, according to a security analyst, CNN's senior national security analyst, Juliette Cain, said Biden should put U.S. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle on leave amid intense scrutiny over the agency's handling of the assassination attempt. They essentially had one job and they failed. If this agency is going to move forward, people need to pay the consequences for it. All right, we got to take another short break. We got some comments coming in. I see that. So we'll try to get to those when we come back. Stay with us. We are just getting started on this Monday morning edition of Frankly Speaking. Oh, one quick thing. If you happen to watch the 10 o'clock news on Friday from Big Fox, I had promoted the fact that Terry McBride of Big Bride and the Ride, you may recall that country band, he was going to join us this morning. It was a pre-recorded interview. I think I'm going to postpone that interview in the wake of everything that we're talking about this morning. And we will play that interview later on in the week. So that's just a quick update if you were waiting for that. But now it's time for that break. Stay with us.
Brighten your smile this summer with Watkins Glen and Elmira Family Dentistry. With their summer teeth whitening special, you'll have a beautiful whitened smile without all the gimmicks and hundreds of wasted dollars. Their licensed dental professionals will apply the product for you in one of their beautiful and relaxing offices. Their materials are made in the USA and are prescription strength to provide an unbelievable result. Give them a call now to schedule your appointment.
When this happened, you want your repair done right. Bring it to Nappy's, or if undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations. Voted #1 auto body repair shop 17 times in the Twin Tiers.
Thank you for your business.
Insist on Nappy's auto body done right.
You rip and tear your old statements and bills, but thieves use this information to steal your identity. Don't be a victim. Get the ID Police, the new ink roller that encrypts all your old documents. So before you throw it out, just roll it on, and your information is gone, both on the front and through the back. Even if the paper is held up to the light, even your medical information is safe with the ID Police. So block it out before you throw it out. Order now and get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 and get free shipping too. This offer is not available on Amazon, so call or click now to get your ID Police for as low as $9.99 with free shipping. Order now.
Call 1-800-898-1002. That's 1-800-898-1002 or visit getidpolice.com. So call 1-800-898-1002. Order now.
It's a season of Sherry.
Having a good time has always been my -- goal. I tend to get crazy. At my age, I should not be jumping up and down like that. And if you don't know what I mean, ask your mama. The young ones, y'all like, we don't know what you're talking about. But I promise you, in 30 years, you will.
It's the best time in daytime.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on Big Fox.
And we are back, broadcasting live from the Hasselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us here on Frankly Speaking. A lot of comments here. Wow, a lot of comments. Okay, let's get to them. From a viewer. Where is it here? Sick of the war against Trump waged by evil, despicable heathens. Biden's statement about the assassination attempt was all political in nature, not genuine. His reference to January 6th in comparison to his act was a big lie. We got to take the high road. This will hurt the Democrats more than it will hurt Trump. Another comment from a viewer. I was watching it live. It stunned me. Took me a while to process what had happened. The older military-looking guy behind Trump stood his ground while he scanned around looking for the shooter. He was a reflection of the typical dedicated Trump supporter. And to your point there, and that's what Trump was talking about, the fact that there wasn't almost a stampede of people trying to run away was very impressive. Another comment. I was amazed how everyone stayed in their seats and didn't start scrambling and running towards the exits. Exactly. Great comments. Keep them coming in. Yes, there was a lot of rhetoric leading up to this. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But Secret Service does face serious questions about security footprint and the rooftop access at the Trump event. And we know that some in the crowd were even pointing to the rooftop, trying to tell police that there was a shooter. Now, Milwaukee is bracing for Trump's convention, the Republican National Convention. Yahoo calls it a pressure cooker. Residents and volunteers are urging a lowering of tensions in Milwaukee as Republicans descend on the city for the National Convention just a day after Donald Trump survived an assassination attempt at a campaign rally. Police are enforcing a buffer zone in the fenced-off blocks around the Forum, the sports arena where some 2,400 Republican delegates from around the country will gather. And President Joe Biden, Trump's election rival, said Sunday that following the shooting, he has directed Secret Service, the agency which protects U.S. leaders, to review all security measures for the Republican National Convention. I don't understand this. But did you see that Morning Joe, you know the show Morning Joe with Joe Scarborough? You probably don't watch it because you're busy watching this program. But was actually pulled from the air today because of the Trump shooting. This coming from CNN. MSNBC will not air Morning Joe, its celebrated politics roundtable program, on Monday, opting to instead air continued breaking news coverage of the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. The Progressive News Network confirmed the decision to preempt its influential and top-rated morning show after a CNN inquiry on Sunday evening. The network said the show will resume airing on Tuesday. A person familiar with the matter told CNN that the decision was made to avoid a scenario in which one of the show's stable of 24+ guests might make an inappropriate comment on live TV that could be used to assail the program and network as a whole. Given the breaking news nature of the story, the person said it made more sense to continue airing rolling breaking news coverage in the fraught political movement. Interesting. Now, the Trump shooting has reignited lawmakers' of fear of violence. House Republicans are set to receive a security briefing from the House Sergeant at Arms on Sunday afternoon, so that would have happened already. House Democrats will receive their own briefing this morning. Senior Democrat congressional staffers will receive a security briefing Sunday, according to a Democratic lawmaker and aide. All right, some are only having pre-scheduled meetings. Several members of Congress said they plan to cancel events and close or restrict their campaign and congressional offices in response to the shooting. One House Democrat said their office will be appointment only for the next few days. Another said they're kind of reluctant to go to a large public event that they were scheduled to attend and that their family is very worried about potential violence. Calls are growing for RFK Jr. to get Secret Service protection. Now, this is kind of crazy because, number one, we know the history of the Kennedy family, but he's been asking for Secret Service protection from the beginning, and he has been denied over and over again any type of Secret Service protection. Calls for independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. To get Secret Service protection were renewed this weekend. Kennedy, who is running for president against Trump and Biden, as you know, said last year his request for Secret Service protection had been denied, repeatedly pointing to the assassination of his father and his uncle shortly after the shooting at Trump's rally in Butler, where the former president was injured and one attendee was killed. Political figures from both sides of the aisle emphasized the need for Kennedy to receive that protection. I encourage the president to immediately provide Secret Service protection for Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Colorado Governor Jared Polis tweeted out. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk called it unacceptable that this has been denied. Reminder, RFK Jr. needs Secret Service protection ASAP. It's completely unacceptable that it has been withheld, especially given his family's history. All right, so we've got a lot more to talk about on this. This is going to be the main topic of the morning. We're just getting started here. We've got some opinion pieces that I think are really important. We're going to tell you what the media had to say. If you watched the coverage, which I'm sure you did once you found out what was happening, wasn't it amazing how the media tried to slant it at first, the language and the words they used were so selected as to downplay what happened until they could no longer downplay it. So we're going to talk about that as well. As I mentioned, we will reschedule that interview with Terry McBride of McBride and The Ride. He was scheduled to be on the show today. I pre-recorded it, in full disclosure, so we have already spoken. But I just don't think with the nature of the news here that it's probably the best idea to have kind of a fun music interview. We're going to probably play it tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. We've got a lot of guests this week, so we'll make sure that we get that in because they have a new album out, McBride and The Ride. All right, stay with us. I'll read your comments when we come back. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox. We'll be right back.
I'm Marianne Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Live in an area full of beautiful destinations, breathtaking mountains, rivers, trails, and waterfalls, often hidden gems just waiting to be discovered. We would like to fuel your discovery this summer. Use our Quick Fill app to navigate to your next adventure and enter to win in our Fueling Discovery Summer Giveaway. No matter where, we'll get you there and proudly fuel the drive.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast and so convenient. It's like the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires on a single charge. It has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system for the factory direct price of just $79.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free, and we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-977-4997. That's 1-800-977-4997, or go to getbullseyepro.com.
Something with a diamond in it.
Diamondback rattlesnake.
It's in the name. Name a low-calorie food you might make your edible underwear out of.
Salmon.
Watch it weeknights. Share it the next day.
Wild caught Norwegian teriyaki.
Share in the fun. Weeknights on Family Feud. 7 and 7:30 on Big.
And we are back. Our beautiful view of historic Market Street as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. Oh, wrong button there. Thanks for joining us. Let's go to some of the comments from viewers. I believe that the Democrats, with their hateful words and all-out attacks, are responsible. When journalists openly call for Trump's assassination and Biden stated Trump is in the bullseye, what do they expect to happen? Well, the rhetoric, hopefully the rhetoric calms down. I don't think it will. It may temporarily. I'm going to talk about some of that rhetoric in just a little bit. Another comment from Ken. What a shock that some unhinged person tried to assassinate President Trump. If you listen exclusively to the legacy media and Democrats, the sheeple will hear that Trump will be a dictator on day one, will never leave the presidency, is an existential threat to democracy, will destroy the world, will go after their political enemies, or will go after his political enemies, will increase taxes on everyone, will take away your Social Security, is a Putin apologist and sympathizer, wants to take any woman's right to health care, lies about everything, is a racist, is a misogynist, is a homophobe, is a convicted felon and shouldn't be allowed to be president, tried to take over the government with an insurrection, is a rapist, should be put in the bullseye, hates, and you fill in the blank with something that represents you or your beliefs. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not a shock. Thanks, Ken. And we're going to talk about that exact rhetoric here in just a little bit. But before that, do you agree with Julia Manchester, who says the shooting makes Trump indestructible in the eyes of his supporters? In the hours following the shooting, Trump struck a grateful yet commanding tone, calling for unity. Meanwhile, his political allies have rallied around their party's standard bearer, widely sharing that what many have described as an iconic image of him holding his fist in the air with blood on his face. It is an iconic image. Many can say that, but it is definitely. It will go down in the history books as one of the most powerful pictures of a president throughout history. The moment hit as Democrats have experienced 2 weeks of turmoil with calls for President Biden's replacement on the ticket. That is interesting, the media's coverage, because even watching Biden yesterday, I thought, why is he giving so many speeches? But it's probably to try to get back in, or get the momentum going behind his campaign again. Because he gave that speech in the afternoon and then said, well, we'll have a lot more for you at the Oval Office later this evening. But it was still only like 7 minutes. It was kind of gaffe-filled as well. But trying to get that coverage. But I'll continue. Trump is indestructible, said New Hampshire GOP Chair Chris Ager. It doesn't matter who the Democrats put up. They can wring their hands about President Biden all they want. Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who they put up. The Democrats are essentially a sideshow, he added. One Republican strategist saying it has and will continue to be unifying to his base, including the crucial not consider Trump-Haley voting and donor segment. It is premature to fully calculate the political impact of an assassination attempt beyond that, but make no mistake, Donald Trump was already handily beating Joe Biden, and the tragic events in Pennsylvania will likely only accelerate that momentum. Republican donors are echoing that sentiment and are predicting a groundswell in fundraising following the attempt. We're going to see absolutely wild fundraising numbers, said Trump donor Dan Eberhardt. If being charged brought Republicans back to Trump, meaning when he got the kind of the lawfare used against him, if being charged brought the Republicans back to Trump, him being shot is going to bring everyone back to Trump. I think this is going to be a landslide. Nearly every Republican now sees Trump as the toughest, I'm not going to say the word, to ever run for president. It's not a stretch to think that constantly calling Trump an existential threat to democracy contributed to this tragedy, O'Connell said. You just take it all together and say there have been so many things thrown at this man, so many things that a normal strength person would not be able to stand up to, and he has come through all of them, Ager said. That's a very, very good point. You know, we've talked about this in the past. You know, many people would have dropped out by now, having to go through what he went through, would have never made it to 2016, which enough's enough with the attacks on him and his family. But he continues to fight. They're acting in a sense of it can happen to him. What's stopping anyone from doing it to us, said one Republican operative. Both Republicans and Democrats have come out to condemn the shooting and have called for a de-escalation in political rhetoric. We've got to turn the rhetoric down. We've got to turn the temperature down in this country, Speaker Mike Johnson said. We need leaders of all parties on both sides to call that out and make sure what happens so that we can go forward and maintain our free society that we are all blessed to have. Trump wrote, "In this moment is more important than ever. We stand united and show our true character as Americans, remaining strong and determined and not allowing evil to win." Corey Lewandowski, you recall him, Trump ally, a man who was just shot, stood up and said fight and was released from the hospital just hours later. He walked out the plane last night and is preparing to accept the nomination of Fight for America. Ager said, "We are encouraging him not to change the schedule," meaning the Republican National Convention, not to do anything. And he confirmed very strongly from the top on down that the show will go on. We'll get business done, and this is not going to slow us down for 1 minute. People are already getting their throats ready for Thursday night. So when Trump takes the stage, they can scream as loud as they can. All right. We've got a lot that we still need to cover this morning. What were your initial thoughts when you were watching it? I like many of you, were watching. Well, I wasn't watching the rally live, but I obviously instantly, my phone started lighting up to sound like the media representatives that said that during the debate. Oh, I got texts. I got tons of texts. But I did, and so I turned on the coverage and watched it essentially the rest of the night. Michael Goodwin said, and this was over the weekend, this was actually, I believe, on Saturday that he released this, Trump just proved that he's a pure warrior after his heinous assassination attempt. They called him an illegitimate president. They said he was a threat to democracy and had to be stopped. They unleashed a legion of agents to investigate him, searched his home, and broke historic barriers by indicting him. Then they rigged a trial in a bid to put him in prison. They called him un-American and worse. Their lawyers and activists fought to keep him off the fall ballots in a dozen blue states as a way, to get this, to defend democracy. They're still trying to bankrupt him and confiscate his business. And now they have shot him. This is Michael Goodwin from the New York Post. In that moment, Trump proved himself a pure warrior, rising in front of the American flag with blood on his face and with a fist pump and a declaration to fight. He justified the enormous fight in his leadership millions of supporters have. The moment probably also won him, pardon me, I got a frog in my throat. The moment probably also won him the election. They did on the eve of the opening of the Republican convention, where his comeback from the political wilderness would be made official as he accepted his party's nomination for president for the third time. The polls show him building a commanding lead in the swing states, including Pennsylvania. The chatter in both campaigns has been turning more and more to the size of the expected victory, not whether he will win. The incumbent, meanwhile, a shell of his former self, is reduced to shouting slurs at MAGA Republicans as if they are freaks from another planet. He no longer seems to recognize them as part of the American fabric. You know, the one he promised to unite when he took the oath. That seems like decades ago. Now this shouter is such a worn-out flop that his own party wants him gone. But as dusk settles in his mind and his body betrays him, he repeats endlessly that Trump is a bad man who must never again be allowed to occupy the White House. The person who pulled the trigger is ultimately responsible for this heinous act, and that is a very important point that Michael Goodwin makes. The person who pulled the trigger, I'm going to reiterate it, is ultimately responsible for the heinous act. But make no mistake, Democrats identify the target. Their nonstop, over-the-top rhetoric put the bullseye on Donald Trump. They have blood on their hands, according to Michael Goodwin. This, by the way, is their rule. For years, when there was an attempt or a successful shooting of a Democrat, the New York Times and other leftist outlets instantly concluded that Republican rhetoric loaded the gun and pulled the trigger, no matter the facts. So by the same standards, Democrats did this. The blame is not limited to a few crazies on the far left. Hitting Donald Trump is a mainstream disease and has been since he first entered the primary contest back in 2016. It's everywhere, from early morning to late night. It comes from people who probably never before thought that they would think and say such things. But their conscience didn't stop them, or at least most of them, from enjoying the right to hate him. Trump, you must know, is evil, and the rules of civil discourse and even fair play don't apply to him. So hate away, it's your right, nay, it's your duty. In fact, the only sin in many quarters of supposed elite society is not hating Trump enough. Leaders of the Democrat Party are especially guilty of routinely using the most inflammatory language when talking about him. Nancy Pelosi called him Putin's man in Washington. The facts proved otherwise, but not all facts are equal anymore. Feelings matter more. All of us want to defeat Trump, the most dangerous president in American history, said Bernie Sanders. That was in an email just hours before the assassination attempt. The threat remains and democracy must be defended, screamed an email from Joe Biden about the same time. See, he's a threat. He's dangerous. He's not a normal human being or normal opponent. He's beneath contempt. True. Heated words and inflamed language lead many people to open their checkbooks. It's the sad norm of fundraising. But the same words mean something entirely different to other people. If they hear them day in and day out on television and in newspaper and on even acceptable social media, they begin to believe them. This is Michael Goodwin if you're just joining us, and yes, I know I'm running really late. Literally. And one of these people loaded up and went to the Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. Thank God his shot was an inch or two off target. The really sad part is you don't need me to tell you any of this. Just remember the first thought that came to your mind when you heard the news that Trump had been shot and saw the picture of the bleeding former president being lifted by those men in suits. Once you knew he was shot at a rally, you knew everything you needed to know. You knew they did it. They finally did it. Even before you learned anything about the shooter, who is now dead. You knew. Even as the investigation begins into the shooter's life and background, the larger questions are being asked. Most important is, was that the first shot in the Second Civil War? Let us pray the answer is no, and pledge that we will not turn to violence against our fellow Americans. And remember this, the world is watching and wondering. They see that the people in the greatest, most powerful country in history cannot stop hating each other and destroying their nation. They wonder why. And they fear for themselves because if America tears itself apart, what hope do they have? In 1787, the 1787 scene involving Benjamin Franklin outside the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia fits the moment. Asked by a passerby if the new Constitution would create a monarchy or a republic, Franklin responded, a republic if you can keep it. Here we are, 237 years later, and Franklin's warning rings anew. Can we keep it? That's Michael Goodwin. I thought that was an important piece, but we've got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this. Where's the button? There we go.
Isn't your wellness important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Want to know why it's hard to stop a train? It's how we've invented products that reinvented our world. It's how we test as hard as the elements do. It's how we run.
Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning in Corning, New York is a local, veteran-owned and operated company with over 25 years experience. From service and repair to new installations, trust the experts at Aaron's Heating and Air Conditioning.
And Missy face off in
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book Smarts versus Street Smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon.
Weeknights at 6:30 on Big Fox.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Another comment from a viewer. Trump genuinely loves America. Biden is known as a liar and always will be, and their agenda sure seems to be destroy America as we know it. It's obvious to the world who the real criminals in America are. Thank you for the comments. Now, I mentioned this early in the program. I know we're running really late this morning, but social media trolls already claim the shooting was fake. You're seeing these conspiracy theories come out. Not a surprise. I guess this piqued my interest. I know I mentioned it earlier on the program, but the first assassination attempt on a president in the social media era. So you knew it'd be rife with conspiracy theories, rife with hate, and there are many examples of that. After Trump, the word staged was the number 2 top trending topic on the app in the wake of the shooting. That's X. Used to be Twitter. Trump getting shot was completely staged, wrote one user. He wouldn't stop looking in that direction. Obviously, someone who could make that shot wouldn't miss if they were intending to kill him. Then he got up and raised his hand, and he would have blanked if this was real. Okay. This should come as no surprise. So many people are filled with hate. We talk about it excessively. Leftists celebrated the shooting with tasteless social media posts about John Wilkes Booth. You're telling me somebody finally, we'll say, had the guts to bring a gun, a euphemism for a gun here, and they missed, said one TikTok user. We were a second away. We were a centimeter away from half of the problem being gone, and you missed. There was a white man attached to that trigger. I know it. We were a centimeter away. Imagine being full of that much hate. You've got to feel sadness for these people. That is their initial reaction to someone getting shot. That the former president being shot, that it was just so close. It's sickening. I can understand, though, and that's why we mentioned Morning Joe is not on the air this morning, because there are so many people filled with hate that the rhetoric, they don't know how to keep it in sometimes, the vitriol. And so MSNBC concerned that a guest would go on Morning Joe and say something inappropriate that would reflect poorly on the show and on the station. I guess this is how unhinged people have become with their Trump derangement syndrome, if you will. The video was reposted numerous times. Kyle Rittenhouse, a Trump supporter who gained national attention when he fatally shot 2 men and injured a third at a protest in August 2020, replied to the video saying that the FBI should probably have a conversation with the person in the video. In one video, the poster held up a candle and sarcastically tried to summon the spirit of John Wilkes Booth. John Wilkes Booth, if you are with us, please, please. We're not even sending our best out to assassinate. Well, we're going to talk, unfortunately, more about this hate and this divide, because it's not just a one-off. There's a lot here from some talking heads that we're going to get to in a moment, but I do have to take another short break before we wrap up this hour. Wow, hour number 1, almost in the books, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking.
If you're looking for new tires, do you choose a chain that's owned by a corporation and only cares about their profit margins, a place who hasn't been in business very long, or a locally owned tire store who's been around for over 5 decades? The choice is pretty obvious, right? Parmeter Automotive has been in business for over 50 years. You don't make it that long unless you take great care of your customers. Stop into Parmeter Automotive today and see why they've become a staple in our community. With 7 convenient locations, there's a Parmeter Automotive near you.
Are you 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now and get this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers, from a leading financial firm on maximizing your income in retirement. This book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms that can help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. And if you call right now, as a bonus, we'll throw in a free annuity rate report. We've researched over 1,200 annuities summarizing the rates and benefits for you. So don't miss out on this opportunity because supplies are limited. Call now and find out how you can get up to 33% more income in your retirement, and you'll receive Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers and the Annuity Rate Report as an added bonus. Both books are yours free, just for calling Annuity General today.
Call 800-354-5972. That's 800-354-5972. Again, 800-354-5972.
And we are back, frankly speaking, here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Of course, we were talking about the assassination attempt of former President Donald J. Trump. Were you watching the rally itself? Maybe some of you attended the rally. It's not that far away, Butler, Pennsylvania. I'd be curious to hear from you if you were watching it, what your initial thoughts were. Also, are you going to be watching the Republican National Convention, which kicks off today. Now, LinkedIn, if you've ever used the social media app LinkedIn, the co-founder, Reid Hoffman, who also is a mega Democrat donor, found himself in a little hot water on Sunday following the assassination attempt of Donald Trump over prior comments he made wishing that the former president was a, quote, actual martyr. The Democrat super donor, in a post on X, tried to clean up the inflammatory remarks he made last week while telling the audience at the Allen & Company Sun Valley Conference that he and fellow tech entrepreneur Peter Thiel had a falling out due to a moral issue, Thiel's backing of Trump. Thiel, who was in the audience at the panel, spoke up and sarcastically thanked Hoffman for putting money behind lawsuits against Trump, saying that the legal action had turned the 45th president into a martyr. Hoffman reportedly replied, and I quote, "Yeah, I wish I had made him an actual martyr." So full of hate. It's no way to go through life to be this full of hate. In light of the attempt on Trump's life, Hoffman claimed the remarks while saying he was horrified and saddened by the shooting and wishing Trump a quick recovery. Peter Thiel said that my lawsuit work against Trump was turning a clown into a martyr. In that context, I replied that I wished that Trump would martyr himself, meaning let himself be held accountable. Of course, I meant nothing about any sort of physical harm or violence, which I categorically deplore. A top Hoffman advisor on Sunday issued a different mea culpa after he wrote in an email to some journalists that the shooting in Pennsylvania, quote, was encouraged and maybe even staged so Trump could get the photos and benefit from the backlash. Can you imagine thinking that someone would actually let themselves get shot to boost their poll numbers? It goes to show you how corrupt they are, corrupted mentally by politics. We've got more to talk about on this. I can't believe how fast this show is going this morning. We've got so much more to talk about. As I mentioned, we were supposed to speak this morning with Terry McBride of McBride and the Ride. I recorded that interview last week, I believe on Friday. But in light of today's topics, I just don't think it's appropriate to play the interview today. We will play it on probably tomorrow's program. So if you heard my promo on the news at Big Fox News at 10 on Friday, and we're looking forward to the Terry McBride interview, don't worry, it'll happen, but it's just going to be a different day. I just don't think it's probably right to play it. We can also talk a little bit about the Republican National Convention, which kicks off today. We've got a couple updates on that if we have the opportunity. New polling coming out. Now, again, I always say this, I'm not a big fan, or I don't have a lot of belief in many polls, but recent polls showing that Donald Trump is defeating Biden after that debate performance, and that even some blue states are turning what they're calling purple, maybe even leaning towards red. So if we have an opportunity to get to that, we will. As always, weigh in on the issues of the day. What were you doing when you heard about the former president being shot? 607-358-3131. You can text me or leave a voicemail. I'll try to do the best I can to read your comments on the air. So stay with us. Hour number 1 is in the books. Hour number 2 coming up in mere moments. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
Oh, water tasting is better for the planet?
That's great, sir. Can I take your order?
Oh, number 3.
At Culligan, we get that most people don't think about water like we do, and that's okay. You see, when we install our drinking water and softening systems, we're thinking about filtering contaminants and the minerals that make water hard. So you can just think about softer, cleaner, better tasting water. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
16th on Fox. We're deep in the heart of Texas, where the game's biggest stars align for the Midsummer Classic. Say you want it to be just a rock and roll. All-Star Game, July 16th on Fox.
And we are back. Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I am your host, Frank Acom. Thank you so much for joining us as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. We do not have a Stu Ben Senior Services Fund interview this morning. We had one, but in light of the news from Saturday, I thought it was best to postpone that interview, and we will hear from Terry McBride of McBride and the Ride, most likely on tomorrow's broadcast. So you obviously, it comes as no surprise, but the hatred that was spewing out on Saturday, even at a time when both former President Trump and current President Joe Biden called for unity, many politicians calling for unity. Did you see Benny Thompson, the Democrat Representative Benny Thompson, his staff member, Jacqueline Marshall, field director was her official title, posted, and it has since been deleted, but posted, "I don't condone violence, but please get you some shooting lessons so you don't miss next time. Oops, that wasn't me talking." So nothing about, I don't know, she thought that was an attempt at being funny. She thought that was, oops, that wasn't me talking. I don't know. So Benny Thompson released a statement saying, "I was made aware of a post made by a staff member and she is no longer in my employment." But the hate and the vitriol, a leading Democrat fundraiser and political strategist is apologizing after he emailed journalists Saturday night to suggest the attempted assassination of former President Trump may have been, quote, staged. Summit 4 reported that Dimitri Melhorn, the top political advisor to Reid Hoffman, who we were mentioning earlier, sent an email Saturday night to a group of journalists after the assassination attempt and wrote that one possibility, which feels horrific and alien and absurd in America, but is quite common globally, is that this shooting was encouraged and maybe even staged so Trump could get the photos and benefit from the backlash. He wrote the false flag attacks were a classic Russian tactic used by Putin to win power back in 1999. He went on to say that another possibility is that some crazy anti-Trumper in this chaotic moment decided to assassinate the former president. I know I'm prone to bias on this, but this is a classic Putin play, and given the facts, seems more plausible. Look at the actual shot. Look at the staging. Look at how ready Trump is to rally. This pampered baby blanked his pants when an eagle lunged at his food. Look at how quickly Trump protects himself at the expense of others, but showed few of those lifelong instincts in this moment. And consider how often Putin and his allies run this play. I know it feels yucky to discuss such a possibility, but in this case, the odds are so high and the stakes so consequential, we must ask the question. Ask the question, people. If it proves wrong, we should respond appropriately to a non-staged act of political violence, as outlined above. But your credibility and our entire system of truth and justice depends on being certain of the answer. Imagine being one of the journalists that is now being lectured by this guy. You have a responsibility. Your credibility and your entire system of truth is on the line. So Melhorn, realizing after the fact when he got pushback that maybe it isn't the best time to speak out. Last night I sent an email I now regret. It was drafted and sent without consultation from team members or allies. Consultation from team members or allies. I've apologized to them directly. I also want to apologize publicly without reservation for allowing my words to distract from last night's central fact. Political violence took yet another innocent American life last night. We must unite in condemnation of such violence in every instance without reservation. Wait a minute, moments before you were saying, or the day before saying quite the opposite, but I'll continue. I'm grateful that those injured last night appear to be on the path to full recovery. Again, I apologize and wish I had reacted as thoughtfully as Reid Hoffman did this morning. All right, we got to take a short break. No, we got a little time. What am I thinking? What am I thinking? Sit back, relax. Jamie Gangle from CNN, a special correspondent, said she thought it was odd that Trump would say fight because of all the heated rhetoric. Yes, it did not take long before it turned into, which this should be no surprise, kind of the victim blaming. It is Republicans' rhetoric. It was Trump's rhetoric that led to this. In this case, why would he say fight? I do want to say there was one thing that when I watched the tape, I found odd. because of all the heated rhetoric. And that is that after he was hit, former President Trump got up and said, fight, fight, fight. I think that we're hearing from people is that's not the message that we want to be sending right now. We want to tamp it down. So having just been shot, Jamie Gangel from CNN believes, I guess, that Trump should have honed or crafted some message in the 30 seconds from being hit to when he was up on his feet, if that, 30 seconds. And that, boy, that's how much there is that hatred for Trump in the media, that she is critical of what he said after being shot. And they don't understand what the fight means. When he says fight, it means don't give up on the American dream. Don't let people like what we saw on Saturday change our way of life. Don't let the quote-unquote terrorists win, if you will. CBS's Face the Nation host, Margaret Brennan, said our country has been living in a heightened threat environment for some time now. Yesterday's assassination attempt against Mr. Trump confirmed our greatest fears. Last night, we reported on inflammatory statements made by some of our elected or political leaders and some of those who had called for calm. Mr. Trump issued a statement after his traumatic experience, and I noted that his statement did not include a call to lower the temperature. It was not meant as a critique, but rather an observation I made in the moment of the breaking news. Today, he said that in this moment, it is more important than ever that we stand united. So in that spirit, let's all hope for a safe campaign for all of those involved. And the former president and his family deserve our empathy for what happened. I wish him and his family the best as he recovers from the attempt on his life. So I wasn't trying to critique Trump, just observing that he didn't call for lowering the temperature. Unbelievable. George Stephanopoulos said Trump and his supporters have contributed to this violent rhetoric. This was on This Week. George Stephanopoulos, if you recall, the same George Stephanopoulos who said that Biden doesn't have a chance to win, I'm paraphrasing, said, of course, President Trump and his supporters have contributed to this violent rhetoric as well. Martha Raddatz said, absolutely, George. We were just looking back this morning at some of the things that former President Trump has said. He warned last March of potential death and destruction if he were charged by the Manhattan District Attorney. Our country is being destroyed as they tell us to be peaceful, Trump said in January. He warned of bedlam in the country if the criminal charges against him succeed. And of course, in March, he said, quote, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That will be the least of it. He said he was partly joking, and that was taken out of context. But those are indeed his words. And you have heard from his supporters as well. And supporters are certainly in some part angry. Let's remember January 6th. In so many ways, for the campaign, January 6th will probably be in the background after yesterday's event. This is a very difficult time for this campaign. I'm sure this week in Milwaukee that President Trump will highlight this, and President Biden is going to have to figure out how to go forward with his campaign and what exactly they say. So a lot of victim shaming, victim blaming coming out from this assassination attempt, that it was Trump and his supporters that have contributed, quote, to this violent rhetoric. We've got other examples of that. We've got a lot left to talk about, but let's take our first break. I see some comments coming in. Oh, I did mention this. It was Ronald Reagan's former assistant who called Trump the luckiest man on the planet. Peggy Granati, who served as Reagan's executive assistant during his post-presidency years, spoke to the New York Post. All the early reporting when Reagan was shot, wasn't quite what they thought it was. So it just grazed him. And so Trump is the luckiest man on the planet. He is standing for something bigger than himself. He knows that he is out there and that he puts himself out in the danger every single day, every time he does a rally. Not for himself, but for the American people. What a fighter. To stand up and to have that be his instinct, to fist pump and say fight. I mean, the awareness. There is no similarity between the two. I mean, Father Time equally comes after all of us. This is in reference to the former Reagan staffer suggested it has less to do with age and more to do with cognitive capabilities. There's no similarity between the two, meaning Biden and Trump. I mean, Father Time equally comes after all of us. And we've all watched Grandma and Grandpa and our parents and aunts and uncles. Everybody ages. There's nothing we can do about that. Some age more easily and gracefully, and some struggle at different ages. It's not about the age. And to go after President Reagan, who lived for 15 years after he left the White House, about his cognitive issues is completely unconnected. He was transparent with the American people. But that was 5 years after he had left office. Joe Biden is sitting in the Oval Office currently. And not only do people feel like they have been lied to, that there has been a transparent process, but now they're getting angry. And beyond the angry comes worry. This is a man who is not just seeing this, it's the world seeing this. Interesting. All right, we're jumping around. I know we've got a lot to comment about. Keep those comments coming in, and we're going to take our first break of the second hour of Frankly Speaking. So we'll be right back after this. Stay with us.
Get your home ready for the ultimate summer during Ray Moore and Flanigan's sizzling summer sale. Find something for every room at amazing prices. Sofas starting at $599. Dining sets at $349. Recliners at $399. And queen mattresses at $349. And with free next-day mattress delivery, you'll rest easy in no time. Enjoy your furniture now and pay later with 72-month interest-free financing. Hurry in while the summer savings are hot at Ray Moore and Flanigan.
I'm Marion Kurt. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Great drivers change lanes very fast, but with no outside mirrors. How come they don't crash? Introducing Angel View, the new wide-angle mirror that reduces blind spots. Angel View simply snaps over your car's rear view mirror, giving you a 160-degree view behind you. Ordinary rear view mirrors are small and flat, but Angel View has a huge mirror with curved glass. This convex shape allows you to see both blind spots with one glance. And with our Pro Edition special coating, it's anti-glare at night. Get your Angel View now for just $19.99 through this special offer. But wait, this may be your last chance to get Angel View at this low price. There is a strict limit of 2 Angel Views per order while supplies last. Order now.
Call 1-800-869-5346. That's 1-800-869-5346. Or visit getangelview.com. So call 1-800-869-5346 now.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Comments from viewers. I have to admit that I tuned in late this morning. That's okay. We'll forgive you. So I don't know if you covered this portion of the story. We got both the local papers. The headline in both cases, Restaurants for Sale in Steuben, Allegheny. Also, the Syracuse Post-Standard similarly has a headline, U.S. trains the world's young entrepreneurs, then pushes their startups overseas. This is a sad commentary from the local printed media, but most of the other media, i.e. the national networks, slant it and makes it sound like it's Mr. Trump's fault this happened. Also, they play the blame game and put the blame on the Secret Service. Yeah, there is a lot of the blame game. Yeah, they do blame the victim. We've seen that throughout the media's coverage. I think the papers, on the weekend, I think they're printed so far ahead of time. It doesn't surprise me that there was nothing on Sunday about the assassination attempt. But yes, when it comes to mainstream media, there's a blame game of blaming Trump for this, blaming his supporters. CNN's Scott Jennings saying, if Trump wins an election, our country will end. Our democracy will end. And that has consequences. This is the kind of rhetoric. They have not dialed it down. Now, this was on Saturday during CNN's coverage of an attempt to take the life of former President Trump. Scott Jennings told his colleagues the hyperbole from the media and Democrats has consequences. This is what he said. Think about what you just said. We are 1 inch from something far more terrible tonight. The country is already shocked, and we are in a bad need of healing and unity in this country. But we were 1 inch from something far worse. Republicans, I'm hearing from tonight, are shocked. They are worried about our country. They are worried about Donald Trump. They're worried about the rhetoric around Donald Trump. I mean, I hate to say it, but the rhetoric around him over the last few weeks, that if he wins an election, our country will end, our democracy will end. It's the last election that we'll ever have. These things have consequences, okay? I don't know what the motivations of the shooter are. I don't know any of the details, but I know the rhetoric around Trump has grown really extreme. You mentioned some other violence. You didn't mention the Supreme Court attempted murder of a Supreme Court justice or the congressional baseball game where Steve Scalise was nearly murdered. One, a conservative, the other, a Republican. But we have people in this country who are dedicated to telling half the country that if Donald Trump wins an election, the country will end. The Constitution will go away, and so on and so forth. What I want to hear from all elected officials is kind of hyperbolic extremism. This has consequences and it must end. Yes, we are all shocked. And yes, political violence has no place. Where does it come from? It's got to stop. I thought there was a good point from Scott Jennings. Another comment from a viewer. Oh, got some waves coming in. I don't have a social media footprint, but my wife does. She said immediately after the attempted assassination, there were a lot of people that were unhappy that the gunman failed. This is a testament on how easily the sheeple are controlled by legacy media and the Democrats. It is also interesting that liberal hateful comments are not taken down, but conservative comments that don't meet, quote, the platform's liberal requirements are quickly removed and the commentator is blocked. Thank you, Ken. That's a very good point. And isn't it interesting, those same people that you're mentioning there that are saying these vile things online are the same ones that preach to us, love Trump's hate, peace and love, and they're the people that are supposed to be the most caring, most empathetic, the most loving people are the ones that were cheering this on. And then there was, this blame. On NBC, they started to go after Trump supporters saying that they may retaliate. Everything is retaliate, revenge. That's the push they are using against Trump. Are you fearful, or does law enforcement look at the possibilities that something like this could inspire others who may have harbored similar thoughts? Lester Holt asked. Figaluzzi replied, oh, absolutely. The copycat thing here. Look, sadly, we've seen it over the last couple of years, haven't we? With people kind of taking on FBI buildings. And it doesn't end well for them, like Cincinnati, Ohio, or a man who tried to swing a weapon at FBI agents in Utah who were arresting him. This kind of thing begets more violence and revenge. So if you're going to have a protest areas in Milwaukee with presumably people who are anti-Trump, can you imagine people who think in their head the answer is to seek revenge for today's event? Maybe against those who are protesting against Trump? This presents quite the challenge for next week. So now it's going to be the Trump supporters that are violent, according to NBC News' national security correspondent, Frank Figaluzzi. The front page of the Washington Post. Did you see this? On the day of the assassination attempt, did you see what the headline was? Biden trains fire on Trump. The front page of the Washington Post featured a story titled Biden trains fire on Trump. That is the day of the assassination. The former president's son, Donald Jr., shared an image of the newspaper on Sunday with the date July 13th, 2024. The report was about Joe Biden's fiery rally in Michigan, where the report said Biden claimed Trump was unfit to serve as president again. We're going to tell you more about what some of the talking heads had to say. We've got a lot more to get to. Show moving fast. As I mentioned, we have postponed our interview with Terry McBride of McBride and the Ride. He'll be on the program probably tomorrow. It's already pre-recorded, so I already have it. I just don't think in light of the news and some of the things that we want to cover, that today is the best day for that interview to find out about his and their band's new album. Keep those comments coming in. A lot of great comments this morning, as always. 24/7, you can reach out to me. You see the number on the bottom of your screen. Text or leave a voicemail. We got to take a short break. Stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Lease a brand new 2024 Subaru Crosstrek Limited all-wheel drive featuring heated leather seats and power moonroof for only $379 a month for 36 months. Make car buying simple. Drive your deal at Simmons Rockwell Subaru in Big Flats.
Isn't this important? Don't you want more energy? Now's the best time to make every day better and relieve those achy muscles and pains than with the Hesselson's Hot Tub. Hesselson's has hot tubs in stock and available for immediate delivery with unbelievable savings. Hesselson's offers 0% interest-free financing for up to 5 full years. Hesselson's carries the only hot tub brand in the industry with the exclusive freshwater salt system that is eco-friendly and easy to use and only enhances your hot tubbing experience. Come in today and see why your next hot tub should be a Hesselson's hot tub. And remember, it's always fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Oak Boys American-made farewell tour. Celebrating 50-plus years of touring. The legendary Oak Ridge Boys. August 1st, the Chemung County Fair. Reserve seats on sale now at ChemungCountyFair.com or the Fair box office. The Oak Ridge Boys American-made farewell tour.
You need a, but they're bulky, awkward, and never put the breeze exactly where you want it. Introducing my fold-away fan from Bell & Howell, the compact cordless fan that unfolds into your own personal wind machine and extends to nearly 4 feet high. Its lightweight, portable design makes it easier than ever to have a targeted breeze anywhere. Plus, this whisper-quiet fan has 3 separate speeds, making personalizing your comfort a breeze. My fold-away fan's rechargeable lithium battery lasts up to 10 hours, and it has enough power to blast a breeze to the other side of this room. Its unique telescoping stand allows you to place it on the floor, so the breeze will reach anywhere with ease. Then the whole thing folds away for easy storage. Get my fold-away fan from Bell & Howell for just 2 payments of $19.99. It comes with the USB cable to make charging fast and easy. My fold-away fan. Call or click now.
Call 1-800-349-4156. That's 1-800-349-4156 or go to myfoldawayfan.com.
And we are back, frankly speaking, here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us. Former White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki called on the Republican National Committee to overhaul its planned programming for the upcoming convention to avoid escalating the country's rhetoric following the failed assassination attempt against Trump. Excuse me? Again, blaming, I don't understand why they would need to change their lineup. When the Republican National Convention sets to begin on Monday, Psaki said the party should adjust the planned speakers and programming to lower the temperature and restore civility. She said while calls among Democrats for Biden's withdrawal from the 2024 race have been paused, the convention could reignite the conversation. The convention is starting, and unless the programming changes, the rhetoric and how the programming is set up is not actually calming the tone or restoring civility. We'll see if that programming changes, but if it stays the same, that is escalating it. It's not a civil approach to a convention. This victim blaming is shocking and appalling, isn't it? So why is it the Republicans need to calm down calm their rhetoric? I'm confused. I can't imagine she knows what exactly is going to be said. The Republican National Convention, where Trump will be formally nominated, is scheduled to proceed with heightened security despite the attempt on Trump's life. I truly love our country and love you all and look forward to speaking to our great nation this week from Wisconsin, Trump posted. Psaki, who now hosts an MSNBC show, said that anyone who is using the moment to promote their politics or bolster their platform is feeding into their party. You are feeding into that danger. You are making it more likely there's retaliation. I'm incredibly scared. I'm scared for journalists. I'm scared for people who have public platforms of all parties. That is Jen Psaki. Also, well, how about this? Ford O'Connell at the New York Post says, as the terror of Saturday's assassination attempt subsided, the image of Trump raising his fist in the immediate aftermath became instantly iconic. And, this is coming from the New York Post, but so many other outlets have called it iconic, called it historic, that moment. Even, I want to say Politico has a piece about it this morning. Nearly every Republican now sees him as the toughest, we'll say, son of a gun ever to run for president, as they pray for the innocent victims of the assault. The vicious anti-Trump rhetoric that clearly contributed to this tragedy could force Democrats to shift away from their strategy of constantly calling him an existential threat to democracy. But Saturday's attack on Trump also culminated the former president's most successful 2-week period since Election Day 2016. The June 27th CNN presidential debate was a political earthquake, a disaster for President Biden that shined an unforgiving light on his cognitive decline and revealed one of the most significant political cover-ups of our time. On top of that, recent Supreme Court rulings have disrupted the Democrats' lawfare campaign. In national polls, Trump is leading, something no Republican presidential candidate has done at this stage of the campaign since 2000. Trump leads in all 6 of the swing states most pivotal to determining the outcome and appears to be expanding the Republican map. He has raced past Biden in cash on hand and has his party solidly behind him. Meanwhile, Biden's recent troubles have led to a drop-off in donations, and his party is in full panic mode 4 months out from Election Day. And if the GOP didn't already have enough momentum, Trump now heads to Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention, where he will be nominated unanimously, since all his primary rivals have now instructed their delegates to support him. He probably would rather reschedule the shindig for early August and give the Democrats more time to publicly struggle. No one on the red team wants to get in the way of the chaos and anxiety on the Democrat side, where Biden is seen as incapable and Kamala Harris as incompetent. But the show must go on. Trump bought this 4-day coronation of Milwaukee for a reason. He won the White House in 2016 by pulling out a narrow victory in Wisconsin over Hillary Clinton. Then lost the state narrowly to Biden in 2020. It's a key state again this year. He's adding some drama to the event. As we know, we still don't know who his VP is going to be. That comes this week. But as we were talking about with former Congressman Joe Semplinsky last week, and as this piece is saying, Trump doesn't want to get anywhere near the news. I mean, this assassination attempt, he had no choice but to be in the news, of course, over this. But he wants it to be the destruction of the Biden campaign. So he's staying back, not announcing his VP. Remaining relatively quiet, of course, that'll change after the assassination attempt. But I'll continue. Because of COVID, it has been 8 years since the GOP's last true national convention, making the week a significant element of the Republicans' revised get-out-the-vote effort. The convention is a crucial platform to get party activists fired up to do the hard work of ensuring maximum turnout. Early voting begins shortly after Labor Day, and in today's era of ballot harvesting, the time to ramp it up is now. The convention also provides invaluable free publicity and attracts a massive audience for the party's leading figures, rising stars, and policy plans. That means a good showing in Milwaukee can boost any candidate up and down the ticket. As planned, each night of the convention highlights a distinct element of the RNC platform, with deliberate appeals to disaffected Democrats. Monday's focus, on the media will bash the failures of Bidenomics and explain Trump's plan to return to the nation to dynamic growth and fiscal sanity. Expect an olive branch to union members who have faced significant economic challenges under Biden and Harris. Tuesday will spotlight Trump's strategy for combating crime and supporting law enforcement. Speakers will highlight Trump's plan to revitalize American cities and address the fentanyl crisis, Soros-funded do-nothing prosecutors, and human trafficking. Wednesday's foreign policy theme will center on securing the border and restoring America's global standing. Expect an open invitation to Jewish Democrats considering their allegiances in the wake of the party's response to the October 7th attack on Israel. The final night will be devoted to nominating Trump and his new running mate, setting the tone for the stretch run. A well-executed convention typically increases national polling by 2 to 6 percentage points. But given the turmoil within the blue team, the current state of the race, Biden was polling in the 30s before the debate, and the issues that are driving voters, it wouldn't be surprising if Trump once again exceeds expectations. After all, he's definitely on a roll. That's Ford O'Connell, a political analyst and veteran Republican operative. Let's take another short break. We have more on the media's coverage of the assassination attempt against the president. We do have a couple other issues that I want to get to as well. But let's take that break so we don't run too late. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Looks like y'all got a lot of stuff here in your water.
You're never gonna believe it, but this can filter up to 60 different contaminants from your water.
It's all about cleaner drinking water.
Dude, that's good water.
And that's good water.
Now that's good water.
That's good water, eh?
No matter where you live, there's a Culligan water expert nearby. At Culligan, we think about your water, so you don't have to.
Call today to schedule your free water test.
My entire practice is focused and centered around St. James Hospital in Hornell. We see a lot of joint pain from hips, shoulders, and knees, whether you're a weekend warrior or even a 80 to 90-year-old who just wants to stay active and keep walking a couple blocks in their neighborhood. I want to spend the time to connect, to really hear you and understand why you've come to visit me to seek treatment. It drives me to be the best physician I can be so that you can go back and do the things that you want to do in life.
What's up, guys? What I'm about to show you is going to change the way you shave your head forever.
You can shave your head in 90 seconds or less with no cuts or nicks. It's 100% waterproof.
It even works in the shower.
Introducing Remington's Balder Boss. With increased flex and 5 dual-track floating head design, get over 60% more head coverage for a faster, closer shave and skin-close results.
No nicks, no scrapes. Fit in the palm of my hand, and the results were amazing.
Shave in the shower or with any foam or gel. With Japanese-grade steel blades, plow through the thickest of hair. Anytime, anywhere. There's even a pop-up trimmer to complete your perfect groom. Now, you can try the Remington Balder Boss in your home for 30 days for just $14.99. Complete with a 5-year limited warranty and 100% satisfaction guarantee. You can also get our ear, nose, and brow trimmer free. Just pay separate processing and handling.
Give it a try. You won't be disappointed.
Order your Balder Boss now.
The Big Fox website is here now. WYDCTV.com. Local and national news that keeps you informed and involved. WYDCTV.com. Today's weather, up to date and in your town. WYDCTV.com. Sports news, local events, and health stories that affect you. WYDCTV.com. The Big Fox website. Your news here now. WYDCTV.com.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us on this Monday morning edition. The New York Times and the Washington Post are spreading the blame of the assassination attempt on both political parties. It is now incumbent on political leaders of both parties and on Americans individually and collectively to resist a slide into further violence and the type of extremist language that fuels it, said the New York Times. The Washington Post writes, encouragingly, leaders of both political parties, including some with whom Mr. Trump has clashed, swiftly and unequivocally condemned the attack. We cannot be like this, Mitt Romney said, and he called it a heinous act. The New York Times also spread the blame for the attack, saying Americans also must be clear-eyed about the challenge that is confronting this nation. Saturday's events cannot be written off as a rarity. Violence is infecting Americans' political life. The left-wing media and Democrat political... Oh, this is Donald Trump Jr. saying, the left-wing media and Democrat political hacks are trying to both sides. Some psychopath attempting to assassinate my father. Just when you think their people can't get any lower, they always do. Yeah, of course. I mean, what would be... God forbid, what would have been done if this was a different a political event? What would the media... Would they say both sides? Donald Trump Jr. slammed them call them out. Just when you think these people can't get any lower, they always do. All right. Republicans in the wake of the Trump shooting seek to pin political violence trend on Democrats. This coming from Yahoo, from Reuters specifically. Within hours of the assassination attempt on former U.S. President Donald Trump, many of his supporters began laying blame on Democrats, seeking to flip the script on who has stoked America's heated political rhetoric as cases of political violence reach historic heights. From establishment Republicans to far-right conspiracy theorists, a consistent message emerged that President Joe Biden and other Democrat leaders laid the groundwork for Saturday's shooting by casting Trump as an autocrat who poses a grave threat to democracy. A Reuters analysis of more than 200 incidents of politically motivated violence between 2001 and 2003 presented a different picture. In those years, fatal political violence more often emanated from the American right than from the left. You really can't make this up. It comes as no surprise that the media would handle it this way, this coming from Reuters specifically. So it's actually the Republicans' fault. I guess, for this assassination attempt. The shooter's politics and motives remain unclear. Crooks was a registered Republican who would have been eligible to cast his first presidential vote in the November 5th election. His father told CNN he was trying to learn what happened and would wait until he talked to law enforcement before speaking to his son. Some Trump supporters blame the media for assassination attempt. Boy, they talk about so now the blame game for this is somehow on Republican and Trump supporters. That's who's to blame, according to the media. Moments after Donald Trump was rushed to safety, some of his supporters turned towards the press to yell obscenities. "This is your fault," one attendee yelled. "It's your fault." Axios reporter Sophia Kay, who quoted some in the crowd warning the press, "You're next," and that their time is coming, even reported that a few rally-goers tried to breach the barriers establishing the press pen, but they were stopped by security personnel. Wow. Let's take another short... No, we got time. I'm sorry, because I forgot I took that break early. Now, the New York Post... No, it's not the editorial board. Excuse me. It's Chris Nessie. Said Democrats' rhetoric stoking fear and hatred against former President Donald Trump, including repeated comparisons to Adolf Hitler, is coming into a harsh new light following the assassination attempt. Trump's political opponents have long used incendiary language in response to his more controversial statements, commonly casting him as a cartoon villain hell-bent on bringing about the end of democracy itself. Their divisive statements frequently include tossing around words like dictator or making overt references to the Holocaust, or Nazi Germany. Republicans now blame this very rhetoric for stoking the assassination attempt that got Trump shot and left a hero firefighter dead and 2 others critically wounded. Senator Rick Scott, who is vying to succeed Senator Mitch McConnell as Senate Majority Leader, wrote, "Democrats and liberals in the media have called Trump a fascist. They've compared him to Hitler. This isn't some unfortunate incident. This was an assassination attempt by a madman inspired by the rhetoric of the radical left." Just last Monday, President Biden himself said it's time to put Trump in a bullseye, and a now wince-inducing quote from a private call with hundreds of Democrat donors. The unfortunate wording brought to mind remarks New York Democrat Representative Dan Goldman made last November in an MSNBC interview with Jen Psaki, saying Trump should be eliminated over his alleged role in January 6th riot. It's just unquestionable at this point that that man cannot see public office again. He is not only unfit, he is destructive to our democracy, and he has to be eliminated. Goldman later walked back his remarks in a post saying he doesn't condone political violence. The official Biden-Harris headquarters account also made a post on X back in December with the heading, "Trump Parrots Hitler," featuring a series of images of Trump and Hitler's faces juxtaposed with quotes from each other. Casually comparing the former president to history's greatest monster was apparently also a favorite pastime. Inside the Biden White House, young staffers, including aides to the president, have reportedly taken to calling Trump Hitler Pig behind closed doors, which is so cringeworthy. I don't know if they think that that's funny. I don't even know, but I'll continue. Representative Vincent Gonzalez, back in March, was a target of strong criticism from Republicans after he compared Trump supporters of Hispanic origins to Jews supporting Hitler. The rhetoric you hear from the Republican Party is shameful and disgraceful for Latinos. And you know, when you see Latinos for Trump, to me, it's like seeing Jews for Hitler almost, you know? Trump's 2016 rival, Hillary Clinton, threw a few shovelfuls of coal onto the fear machine during an appearance on The View last November when she warned a 2024 Trump victory would be the end of our country as we know it. Hitler was duly elected. All of a sudden, somebody with those tendencies, dictatorial, authoritarian tendencies, would be like, okay, we're going to shut this down. We're going to throw these people in jail. And they didn't telegraph that. They don't usually telegraph that. Trump is telling us what he intends to do. Take him at his word. Now, comparisons to Hitler or other totalitarian dictators were being made as far back as during Trump's first term, as we are well aware. I'm not going to go through each of those examples. But this is a great piece if you want to see some of this rhetoric that has been thrown around through the years. With the benefit of 2020 hindsight in the wake of Saturday's deadly shooting, Republican members of Congress wasted no time pointing these and other examples of extreme rhetoric leveled against Trump as catalysts for the attempted assassination. The Republican district attorney in Butler County, PA, should immediately file charges against Joseph R. Biden for inciting an assassination, said Georgia Representative Mike Collins. Steve Scalise, who was himself a victim of politically motivated shooting back in 2017, directly linked the shooting to incendiary rhetoric emanating from the political left against Trump. For weeks, Democrat leaders have been fueling ludicrous hysteria that Donald Trump winning re-election would be the end of democracy in America. Clearly, we've seen far-left lunatics act on violent rhetoric in the past. This incendiary rhetoric must stop. J.D. Vance, widely seen as a serious contender for VP, said today is not some isolated incident. The central premise of the Biden campaign is that President Donald Trump is an authoritarian fascist who must be stopped at all costs. The rhetoric led directly to President Trump's attempted assassination. That's just a couple quick rundowns. Now, the media kept their bias on full display after this assassination attempt. That was what was so frustrating watching the coverage, depending on what outlet you went to. The assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump, just making sure I have time, that played out live on national television should have resulted in the kind of objective, unbiased coverage the country deserved at such a terrifying moment, says Joe Concha. Some outlets, however, failed the test miserably. Take these headlines. CNN, Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at rally. That's a CNN headline, folks. Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls at rally. The Associated Press, Donald Trump has been escorted off the stage during a rally after loud noises ring out in the crowd. The New York Times, Trump hurt but safe after a shooting. Forbes, will surviving gunfire be Donald Trump's next appeal to black voters? That's coming from Forbes. Politico, in the wake of the rally shooting, GOP officials have been quick to blame Democrats for demonizing Trump. Unbelievable, the victim shaming. Needless to say, it was abundantly clear that Trump had been shot once. He was brought to his feet by Secret Service agents just 1 minute after being hit. Shots could be heard before he crouched down to take cover. His visibly injured ear had splashed bright red blood across his face that was clear to see even at a distance. Yet we had CNN initially report he had fallen. How about the Times and Politico calling this a shooting instead of an assassination attempt? How about Forbes wondering just hours after the attack if it would make Trump more appealing to black voters? And Politico scolding Republicans for seizing and pouncing on Democrats, angry that they and their allies in the media have referred to Trump as Hitler for 8 years. Margaret Brennan of CNN even managed to victim blame Trump for nearly getting killed after reading a statement from the former president. I did notice there was no call for lowering the temperature, condemning all political violence, and really trying to signal to his supporters as well not to retaliate or to have any kind of escalation here. There's no words for this kind of bias. It somehow got worse over on ABC News during a conversation between George Stephanopoulos and Martha Raddatz, who I mentioned earlier. President Trump and his supporters have contributed to this violent rhetoric as well, Stephanopoulos said, Bill Clinton's former attack dog. Absolutely, George, Raddatz occurred, and let's remember January 6th. Many of us will recall forever the iconic moment when a bloody Trump, surrounded by a Secret Service detail, pumped his fist at the crowd and urged them to fight. It was emblematic of Trump's toughness and determination and defiance, even after taking a bullet to the ear just 1 minute earlier. But on CNN, this was seen as a big no-no, even as the horrific scene was unfolding. That's not the message that we want to be sending right now, said Jamie Gangel, We want to tamp it down. Yes, a network that has endlessly attacked Trump as a racist, fascist demagogue seeking to destroy democracy was lecturing him just seconds after he was a millimeter away from being murdered. For these outlets, there's no coming back from this. Their rhetoric has been building for years without any accountability. Media figures, most hyperbolic and personal and dishonest attacks on Trump have not only cost them no consequences, but have probably brought them raises and promotions. As for President Biden and his speechwriters, they have helped foment this deadly environment. Here's what the president said on July 8th. We're done talking about the debate. It's time to put Trump in a bullseye. Last year, Representative Dan Goldman said that man Trump cannot see public office again. He has to be eliminated. Jen Psaki, Biden's former press secretary, offered no pushback when he said that. A former president, likely to be the next president, was shot on Saturday. It was a miracle he survived the attempt. What won't survive is any last shred of credibility many in our media ever had. On that note, let's take a short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Hi, I'm Adam.
And I'm Aubrey.
For over 40 years, the Blaze Alexander family dealerships have been making car buying easy, affordable, with respect for your time.
And we do that by treating all of our customers like family.
By making sure you get the lowest rates, biggest discounts, and most for your trade.
By providing clean, comfortable, and convenient service.
By offering the largest selection of new and pre-owned vehicles every day. Visit a Blaze Alexander family dealership,
where we're taking the deals
the other guys won't.
The world's pizza has been baked in ovens made of stone, but you can't put one of those on the countertop in your home. Introducing Paisano, the authentic pizza oven by Granite Stone. Now make the world's most delicious pizza with real stone right in your own home. You simply set it and let it make golden, crispy, extra cheesy stone-baked pies in under 6 minutes. The secret is the dual-controlled heat zones that quickly heat the real ceramic stone up to 800 degrees so you can stone bake just like the pros. Plus, there's no gas, wood, or charcoal needed. Paisano is electric, plug-in, and portable. You can get your Paisano pizza oven for just 4 easy payments of $39.99. And we're going to drop one payment. You get it all for just 3 easy payments of $39.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free.
Call 1-800-597-7208 or order online at buypaisano.com. Call now.
And we are back with Frankly Speaking, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Maud Marin, said the assassination attempt of former President Donald Trump brings the inciting rhetoric of today's Democrats into sharp focus. And it should make those who employ similar language on the local stage think twice. But I'm not holding my breath. Biden and his surrogates have been ramping up their threat to democracy language to dangerous levels for 8 years. And once it was clear that Trump would again be the GOP nominee, the vitriol went off the charts. Elected Democrats at every level now talk about Trump and MAGA Republicans with more hate and derision than they have ever summoned for Hamas terrorists who are currently holding American citizens hostage. Trump's 2016 rival, Hillary Clinton, spent his first term referring to him as illegitimate. Democrat partisan State Attorney General Tish James fulfilled campaign promises by waging lawfare against Trump in civil court. And Alvin Bragg is inventing crimes in criminal court, all to defeat a rival who their team is afraid to face at the ballot box. President Biden, who promised to restore honor and dignity to the White House, leads the way in debased and dangerous language, calling Trump a loser. And it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. The language is beneath the presidency and is not new. At his Independence Hall speech in Philadelphia last summer, Biden targeted Trump and also made clear that his disdain for Trump's supporters. Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundation of our republic. He drove the point home by saying there's no question that the Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans, and that is a threat to this country. At first, Biden spoke of MAGA Republicans who do not respect the Constitution. They do not believe in the rule of law. But then he switched to forces, saying MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards to an America where there's no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you love. Referring to Americans who did not vote for you, but who in a functioning democracy you still must answer to as forces and a threat does not restore honor and dignity, but brings shame to the highest office in the land. It is un-American. The worst part is Democrat politicians everywhere take note and emulate this kind of talk. After the 2022 Colorado Springs nightclub shooting, guess who Nancy Pelosi blamed? Quote, the MAGA Republicans are cruelly undermining the safety and well-being of our transgender community. She called the former president dangerous and evil. Just this month, Adam Schiff declared that this election is about whether the country remains a democracy, whether we veer off into some kind of pseudo dictatorship. And of course, who can forget AOC, who thinks people with ideas she does not like are engaging in terrorism. Demonizing Republicans is apparently good politics for radical leftists, but it's bad for our great country. And it's dangerous. Presidential candidates and everyday Americans deserve better. Now, Forbes did remove that column that I mentioned earlier that asked if Trump surviving the shooting will appeal to black voters. Can you imagine writing that piece and thinking you're saying something politically brilliant? The piece, Will Surviving Gunfire Be Donald Trump's Next Appeal to Black Voters, by scholar and self-described DEI expert Sean Harper. The column described how black Americans face inexcusably high levels of gun violence, including in many urban areas, which Harper wrote Trump could address through legislation and financial investment in urban black communities. The author mentioned Trump attempted to sway black voters after he was indicted on various criminal charges and had his mugshot taken last year. You get the idea. We got to take another short break, and then we're wrapping things up on this morning edition. Boy, this went fast, didn't it? Get your last minute questions, comments, concerns, comments. Now I already say comments. Get those in before we wrap up. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
What do you do when your tire goes flat and there's no air anywhere? You reach for Bullseye Pro, the smarter, faster, hands-free way to fill it up with air. Bullseye Pro is equipped with a rechargeable lithium-ion power plant. So fast and so convenient. It's like the power of an air compressor in the palm of your hand. Look, you can inflate all 4 tires on a single charge. It has a built-in smart pressure digital sensor that gauges and automatically stops when the set tire pressure is reached. Easily inflate pool toys, exercise balls, and more. Call or go online now and get the complete Bullseye Pro inflation system for the factory direct price of just $79.99. Plus, we'll ship your entire order free, and we'll give you a 50% discount on a second one. Order now.
Order, call 1-800-970-9843. That's 1-800-970-9843, or go to getbullseyepro.com.
And we are back. Look at our beautiful view from the roof of historic Market Street as we broadcast live from the Hesselson studio. I'm your host, Frank Hakem. Thanks for joining us this morning. Representative Jared Golden called out his own party. He is a Democrat from Maine. He said, we can start by dropping hyperbolic threats about the states of this election. It should not be misleadingly portrayed as a struggle between democracy or authoritarianism, or a battle against fascists or socialists bent on destroying America. These are dangerous lies. Following the assassination attempt against former President Trump, we must ask ourselves questions about the future of our country and what we want for ourselves and our children. Now, Peggy Noonan said, a shot rings out and a warning to America. In the wake of a shocking crime, can we hope for any improvement in our political culture, she asks. She talks about watching it, seeing the president get up, pump his fist and say, fight. My relative said, well, that's over, meaning the election, meaning you don't give America an image like that and go on to lose. You give America an image like that and it enters political mythology forever. Mr. Trump had heard at least one shot, maybe a few. One grazed his ear. He hit the deck, was lifted up in shock. He was pale. He should have been swiftly rushed off the stage. But no, this is the great genius of American political theater, and the reflex kicked in. The same reflex that kicked in after he had COVID as returned to the White House from the hospital and wanted to pose on the White House balcony in a Superman shirt with a big S, and somebody talked him out of it. So too at the rally Saturday, he got to his feet. He didn't wipe the blood from his face. He wanted you to see and understand the whole picture. He got his look of tough guy fury, the one he showed for weeks walking into court in New York. It was epic. Whatever you feel about him, whatever you stand, grant him one of the greatest gangsta moves of American political history, said Peggy Noonan. An hour or so later, a friend called, a journalist. I told him of my relative's reaction. He said he wasn't sure. We are living in a time of such turbulence, too, such drama, hatred. Maybe in November, people will vote for calm. But Joe Biden doesn't make anyone feel calm, I replied. He's angry, resentful, may not finish the thought. He makes everyone nervous. Beyond all that is a crushing knowledge that this is bad for America, bad for its morale and its confidence and the idea of its continuance. And of course, it's terrible in the eyes of the world. More proof that we can't hold it together. Still, an American living in England wrote from there, crestfallen, our beautiful country in the gutter. That was a better, truer sentiment than the responses of our political leaders, whose reactions have seemed to so harrowingly pro forma. Violence has no place in our country. They always say those rote words, but it does not have a place here. It claimed it long ago. That's our problem. As I write, they're calling the 20-year-old would-be assassin a loner. They've been calling assassins and mass murderers loners since I was a child, since Lee Harvey Oswald. For loners, they sure are a big group, Peggy Noonan writes. Here might, if we aren't past this, be a better response from the famous America, I love you and I am of you and grew up of here, and you know your heart. We beg you, you will do our part, at least for a moment, to show real regard and affection for whoever you feel is the other side. If you are anti-Trump, here's something deserving praise. His supporters left that rally last night shaken and full of woe, and yet many stopped kindly to tell reporters that they saw and what they experienced, so that everyone might better understand what had transpired. It was moving how generous and patient they were, though they'd witnessed something that shook their souls. Can we hope for any improvement? Maybe for a short term. The long term, I don't know. But shocks like an assassination attempt can reorder things in the political culture, at least for a while. When something like this happens, when you are shot, if you're turned an inch or two the other way, that was the difference between a grazing wound and death. And what impact does that have? How do you feel when you see someone you hate assaulted and hurt by a nut with a gun at a public meeting? Does it feel good or more like a caution and warning? We're all at least united in one hope, that what happened last night will be the worst thing that happened in the 2024 campaign. Now, the assassination attempt guarantees Trump's return to the White House, said a political guru, Dick Morris. You know Dick Morris used to work for the Clinton campaign. Functionally, the race is over. Trump win if he lives. There's nothing that can get into Trump's path except a bullet. That's Dick Morris. Oh my gosh, we're out of time. Well, that's going to be interesting to see fundraising. All right, we are out of time. Trump's raised fist will make history and define his candidacy. In the wake of the shooting, GOP officials are quick to blame Democrats for demonizing former president. There you go. All right, thanks to everybody who joined us this morning. I know it went quick. Please join us tomorrow morning, starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV. Big Fox, have a great day, everyone, and we will see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. I look forward to it already.
The Oak Ridge Boys American-made farewell tour. Celebrating 50-plus years of touring. The legendary Oak Ridge Boys. August 1st, the Chemung County Fair. Reserve seats on sale now at ChemungCountyFair.com or the Fair box office. The Oak Ridge Boys American-made farewell tour.